Good morning, everybody. It's Dana Brigman. It is Monday, about 11 a.m. now. And as a follow-up or maybe a deeper chat about some of the things we were talking about in the last video, I wanted to just give you a couple of quick situation overviews or sort of case studies, if you will, about the topic of are we looking at the right issue? And one of the very common ones in my dog training business is, so again, in the last 6 years, I've taken a step back from training in terms of all obedience all the time and really trying to look under the hood a little bit. And I think this is where I separate myself out from a lot of trainers, is trying to get into sort of the state of mind of the dog in a very healthy way, not in a authoritative or dominant kind of way, right? The more I look at essential oils and nutrition and all things wellness, right? That's led me now into homeopathic remedies, which I am not an expert on, but I am learning. And really starting to wrap my brain around this theory of traditional Chinese medicine, which the more I study it, the clearer it gets, which I guess is true for most anything that we study, but it starts to just make more and more and more sense. And I can go back and look at situations and dogs that I have trained and go, oh my God, that was it, right? I totally get it now. I totally see it. And so that's what I want to bring to you guys. That's what I want to bring to the wellness aspect of things. And we can't just say my dog is fearful or my dog is aggressive. What oil do I use, right? Because think about this. If your dog has a fear of thunderstorms, which many do, right? They get very upset, very freaked out by thunderstorms. Yes, we can certainly look at essential oils that provide calming support. Does it change the behavior, right? Does it eliminate the fear? Probably not. It might introduce some coping capabilities and some calming capabilities, but the next time there's a thunderstorm, in the absence of you being there to apply whatever remedy or oil you were going to use, would it be better, right? Would the work that you've done with the aromatherapy make it better in the future? And sometimes I think the answer to that is no, unless you're also doing the state of mind work, unless you're also adding in the work that it takes to transition that dog's ability to cope with that circumstance. So essential oils can certainly calm us and create calming in the moment, but we then need to use essential oils or whatever else you choose to use paired with training techniques and behavior techniques that start to eliminate the root cause in the first place. And I believe essential oils can take us far beyond the moment and get into the release of what's causing the root of those issues in the first place. Okay. Just sharing a little bit about Wallace. I don't know if any of you are actually, I think some of you are on my training page. But Wallace was here, little 44-pound pit bull, cute as he could be. But he came in, and kind of the way he was described to me was that he was a little crazy, right? He was a little wrapped around the axle, a lot of anxiety, had been on medications, pharmaceutical, vet prescribed medications, and it didn't work. They didn't think that it worked. And so I'm thinking, wow, this must be bad. Must be really bad if we have gone so far as to put a dog on prescription medication. And then it must be seriously bad if the prescriptions medications didn't work, right? So I'm like, wow, they're bringing me a basket case dog, right? And there truly are some basket case dogs. And I'm thinking, they're bringing me one. And so he gets here, he gets out of the car, he's drooling, he had thrown up, he was sick in the car. I mean, it was just, he was a mess. And so now we've got anxiety in the car. He gets here, he's like cowered down. He's like, I don't know why y'all bringing me here, but I'm afraid to come into this building. So you're seeing a very nervous energy, very sort of fearful, skittish energy. I get him settled in his crate. He's bouncing off the sides of the crate. I mean, just side to side, bouncing with over-arousal, right? Anxiety is built into that, right? He's just like, oh my God, you can just see it in his little body. And when you try to get him to be still, he's vibrating. Literally, his body's vibrating. And I'm thinking, wow, this dog is a hot mess. You go to feed him, and the arousal escalates. It's off the charts with a high level of excitement. He no longer is focused or aware of what you're saying to him. It's just like food. And you can just see his eyes glaze over. And if you've ever seen the little Peterbilt, they get these big mouths, right? The mouths go way back. And it's flooded with blood in his mouth. You can see how red the gums and the flues get, and you can just see all this sort of stress. And so remember, stress, anxiety kind of things in the brain is absolutely no different than excitement. The body feels exactly the same way. Your gut and your brain may be telling you there's something different, right? About I'm stressed versus, oh my God, I'm excited, right? But you can overcome the things like stage fright, nervousness by going, I'm excited to do this. I'm very excited to do this, because your body thinks it's the same stuff going on in there. It's just the conversation you're having with yourself. So now we've got an excitable, anxious dog, right? The first couple of days, I was exhausted trying to figure out who this little dog was and what was going on with him, how to slow down his brain when it came to eating food, and so on. So yes, we were absolutely using essential oils that were calming, that were grounding. We got into doing a little work with release. Let go, whatever this is that you've brought here with you, let it go. Let's transform. And so if you're familiar with Young Living, all these are blends of oils named by those things. They are intended to sort of to do what the name implies. Release, right? Release. Transform yourself. Let me help you transform with things like condition relaxation work or raindrop work and things of that nature. But here's the thing. If I hadn't stepped back and said, who is this dog, right? What is it that makes him fulfilled and satisfied? I would have been fighting a big battle with trying to solve an anxiety problem, right? And this is experience in large part, right? Because he came from a group that fosters and adopts out pit bulls all the time. But our fosters aren't always experienced with these things, and sometimes the people aren't always experienced with these things, certainly not adopters in many cases. But I could have continued, and I probably would have still been fighting an anxiety problem had I not pulled back and said, let's look at the bigger picture, right? Let's look at the bigger picture. And for me, that includes, what does he eat? So the food he was eating, I changed immediately. Because what I know is we need the right type of protein, the right balance of protein. We need certain things to be happening in the food, and perhaps even cooling food. So if a dog is like jacked up and think all that blood red in the mouth that I mentioned, right? All that, it's heat, it's stress, it's a lot of stuff going on in there. But when you see these visible cues, you have to say, what does that mean? I also noticed that he pooped out what seemed to be more volume of food than was going in, right? So little 44-pound pit bull probably eats 3/4 of a cup to a cup of kibble per day, right? He probably needed more because his metabolism's probably on fire because he's so crazy all the time, right? If you're never calm, your body is using a lot more energy. So he probably needed more food. So perhaps they were feeding him more food. But he's pooping it all out the back end. What does that mean? Is he not tolerating the type of food that he's being fed? Is he missing digestive enzymes that allow him to take in those nutrients that he needs? Is he hungry? I mean, why is this dog so crazy over food? So we know that going back to his history, he came in as an emaciated dog, right? So there are essential oils that we can look at to help the dog have a feeling of enough, to have a feeling that there is enough. But was he really hungry? So then the question is, do you feed him more because it's all coming out the back end, or do you look at adding something like a digestive enzyme and a different type of food that perhaps he tolerates better? So the base of his food was chicken, and so I wanted to shift him to something cooling, so I shifted him to white fish, right? So now I've made food changes, I've got essential oils changes, we've got digestive enzymes going, we've got a number of things going. And then I start working this little dog's brain. There were no food bowls. If he ate, he earned it. So for several days, he earned it by learning to sit, by learning to down. It took him about 5 days to learn to lay down. But by the end of the time he was with me, he was here for 2 weeks. By the end of the time he was with me, he was sitting, waiting patiently to be released to eat his food. And he would then go, when I would say out, he would step away from his food bowl and sit down. That's an amazing transformation for where he was when he started and how his previous foster home had described him. In this, we also added a lot of mental game play and a lot of physical exercise, right? It's who he is. It's who these little drivey, high drive pit bulls are, right? And this is, the breed is not really relevant until you understand what the breed is designed to do. So hunting dog, we'll talk about Tessa in the next video. She is a little hunting dog and she has some similar issues. But what is their genetic predisposition to their quote unquote drive category, high drive type dogs. Are they using their nose? Are they using their scent? Are they, what are they driven to do? And with what athletic activity level? So I put little Wallace on the treadmill. The first day did not go so well. He didn't love it. And a part of it was he sort of couldn't find the rhythm. The second time we tried it, he got on it and he was like, and as he's running, right, as he's getting his little groove going on, you can feel the layers of energy just fading away, right? You can just see tension leaving his little body. And so when you put all of these pieces together, you then have a much better solution for your animal, much better. And so let's see, a week ago Sunday, it was kind of cold and dreary, rainy here. And I said, I always give the dogs sort of a break day. I need a break day. They need a break day. And usually it's Sundays. And so Sunday, I noticed that he was very relaxed. He would go get a bone to chew on, or he would just curl up and take a nap. That was a surprise behavior. And for the rest of the week that he was here, he left on Friday of this past week. The rest of that week, he was a different dog. He was calmer. He was more relaxed. He was happier. He was playful. He got way better at being presented with a treat or being presented with food. Now, we had to have some rules to that, right? So, for example, treat time at night is typically when treat time happens at my house. The dogs go out for last potty and they come in and my dogs know to sit and get their little treat, and then we go to bed. Wallace would try to steal treats from everybody else the first few days that he was here. He's like, I'm desperate, and you're passing them out, and I'm going to go take them from everybody. So the rule for Wallace became, you must be on your place to get anything handed to you. To earn any treat, you must be on your place. And the key to that is if he's on his place, he can't be at anybody else's place. And if he walked away from his place, he didn't get his treat. It didn't take him but a hot minute to figure that out, right? But he would not have been able to figure it out if we had kept him in that aroused state around food. So again, this is just an example of saying, I could have brought a dog in who was over-aroused, overexcited, and worked on essential oils that were supposed to be calming, right? Supposed to be settling, calming. It would not have been enough, right? It would not have been enough without changing food, in my opinion, without exercise, and without some training boundary. And I'm not talking hard level obedience stuff, right? We're not talking about sit, stay, down, stay, although that's layered in. That gives us a foundation of language and basics. But my goal with him was not obedience training. My goal was to shift his energy to a calmer, better balanced dog. But I could not have done that had my focus only been on how do I calm him, right? That's still the goal. That's still the outcome. But I needed other factors of who this little guy is to get to that end result, right? So this is a good example of you've got to take a step back and see what is his body telling you, right? Remember, I talked about the sort of the flooding of the redness in his mouth, right, when he's excited. The fact that he's pooping out as much food as was going in, maybe more. The fact that he always seemed hungry, that he seemed desperate for something else. Now, was that emotional or was it hunger? Hard to say until you start figuring these pieces out, right? So changing his food, changing the rules, changing how he earned affection, and changing his exercise level to be one that is not just physical, but mentally stimulating and satisfying who he is as a little being is the only thing that allowed us to find the right solution. And he's a great little dog. He's going to be a great little dog for somebody. He's a lot of fun. So I hope that gives you all a little more understanding of why I'm saying you can't just say, my dog has anxiety, what oil do I use? It is not that simple. It is seldom that simple. Okay? So I'll come back in a little bit and we'll talk about Miss Tessa. See you guys later.